All right, everyone. We might begin. You would have all um, become aware as you joined, but this session will be recorded, and we will release the recording after the info session ends, just so you're all aware. Yeah, my name's Seb. Before we begin, I'd just like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from unceded Wurundjeri country. I'd like to pay respects to elders past, present, and becoming, and extend that respect to the places that you're all tuning in from. Yeah, I'm the curator at West Space. I've been here for about 2.5 years. I'm joined today by Leela, who's a gallery assistant, and we're also joined by Grace Culley, who will add a few things about her experience as a artist that was the recipient of one of the West Space commissions in 2021. And her project, Surprise Face Art Heart Eyes, was delivered, I think, in March this year. So yeah, just a really brief overview of how the session will go. Thinking about the session last year, where the real value came, I think, was when people that tuned in were able to ask their own questions. So I'll talk for a little bit, Grace will talk for a little bit, but we really do want to, leave time for you all to ask your own questions. And I think a lot of the content will probably be covered in that time as well. It might not apply to everyone here, but we also have a EOIs open for the West Space window opportunity. I won't be talking in detail about the West Space window opportunity, but if you do have questions about it, you can ask those of myself, Leela, and Grace at question time at the end. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to share screen because I prepared a presentation. Can everyone see this? Is that a yes? Yep, yes. Thumbs up. Okay, yeah. So yeah, the 2025 West Space Commissions, the image you're looking at is actually from Grace's solo show in March this year. This was on the opening morning. Yeah, this image here is by Stephen Rawl. I just thought I'd open with this because it gives you a pretty good idea of what the space looks like. And I'm going to start by talking a little bit about West Space and its context. So this image is just intended to place you all on site in the gallery. So yeah, West Space is in its 30th year this year. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of West Space and kind of the history and the work that we're involved in. But to give you a brief overview, when we started in Footscray 30 years ago, we were a really kind of DIY artist-run initiative. And now in 2023, we have a full-time director. I'm a part-time curator. We have an administrator, a board, and an artist committee. So now we really are operating in the same way that a small institution might. But we're still very much driven by those values of artist-run initiatives that include things like experimentation, support of artists, risk-taking, and encouraging projects that are critical for the way that they engage with discourse of the day. In 2020, West Space moved from its Burke Street location to Collingwood Yards in Melbourne's inner north. And that precipitated a change in our the way that we work and our exhibition structure. So now we have about 5 or 6 exhibitions per year in our big space. Each of those projects come to fruition over a development period of between 12 to 18 months. And this commission's opportunity will be no different. So the 2 selected artists or collectives will begin work on their commission late this year, in late 2023, and deliver it sometime in 2025. Yeah, our position in Collingwood Yards really opens West Space up to collaboration, the opportunity to partner with other creative organizations on projects. We get a lot of foot traffic. We're a kind of destination for both industry professionals and those who haven't been initiated into the arts. Yeah, there's a lot of things that our position in Collingwood Yards can do for a large-scale project. Yeah, and now I'll just quickly go through a few case studies. So the image you're looking at is from the current exhibition at West Space. Tomorrow is actually the last day of this exhibition by Hosey. So along with Grace, Hosey was awarded a West Space commission in late 2021. And it opened about 7.5 weeks ago now. What we do when someone is awarded a West Space opportunity is the first thing we do is try and seek further funding for the project. So for the 2025 commissions, those two artists will be given an artist fee of $3,000, which isn't a really large amount of money considering the development period. But what we'll do, we have historically done a really good job of, is support those artists to apply for further funding, both at a state or a federal level. You'll be most likely working directly with me on those grant applications. And that is a really amazing professional development opportunity. I would think a lot of the artists that we work with in the past don't have grant writing experience. Many do, but that is very much something that a skill that we're hope to ingrain in the artists that we work with. It's all a part of, not only making an amazing exhibition, but working with the artists that we do to have a sustainable practice. These are some more photos of the show. It's a 3-channel video work. He was able to make an album that he literally pressed on vinyl. We made a publication for the show, and yeah, the install was delivered to like a really high production level. For this exhibition, we partnered with Centre for Projection Art, who are tenants in Collingwood Yards. And they provide a lot of expertise and special equipment to present the videos that Hosey made. And we also were able to put together a live performance of the work that we did maybe 3 weekends ago. And for that, Hosey was supported to bring all the performers that he had worked with down from Sydney. And yeah, we hosted them in Melbourne for that weekend. The image now that I'm showing is of an exhibition by Huang Tran Nguyen that was presented at West Space and at Footscray Community Arts Centre in the second half of 2022. So this exhibition actually existed at 2 sites, and Huang was really interested in, the gentrification of those 2 places and the connection between gentrification and language in a settler colonial context. West Space does a really good job of contextualizing the practices of the artists that it works with, both in the site that Collingwood Yards provides in Melbourne, but also within a national discourse in Australia. The artists that we work with do receive a very high level of visibility for their project. This is a really good example of how the beginnings of an idea can grow into a quite polyvocal project with lots of different parts. So this show came out in midway through last year. It was a collaboration between Joel Spring, who's based in Sydney, and Victoria Pham, who at the time was based in Cambridge, although she's originally from Australia. This exhibition involved projection, sculptural elements, and a very detailed soundscape. So we partnered with Liquid Architecture and Centre for Projection Art I've already mentioned Centre for Projection Art, but Liquid Architecture are also tenants at Collingwood Yards. So we had access to, expertise and equipment around sound. Joel and Victoria undertook a residency with Centre for Projection Art where they learnt to projection map. And that's a skill that they now have that can allow their practice to manifest in lots of different ways. With Liquid Architecture, we also put on a really amazing public program. And Victoria also had the opportunity of editing a special issue of Liquid Architecture's publishing platform called Disclaimer. So those are just the kinds of directions that a project idea can grow in with West Space. Okay, so here's some key information. I don't really know what to say here while you all read it. I will say that we will make a PDF of this presentation available. But essentially, West Space, through the Commission program, we're really looking at working with artists at a particular moment in their careers. So it doesn't necessarily matter if you're an emerging artist, whether you're an early career artist or a mid-career artist. We're looking to support all of your projects. If you're an emerging career artist, maybe it's the right time for you to start understanding yourself as an early career artist. Same goes if you're an early career artist. Now it might be the time for you to work on a project that allows you to understand yourself as a mid-career artist. If you're a mid-career artist, the Commission might exist as an opportunity to present a project that allows you to experiment or take risks in ways that larger institutional opportunities might not. So to go over some of the key information for the commissions, there's a $3,000 artist fee, and then the intention of securing further funding for your project. We offer in-kind curatorial, logistics, promotional support. We do things like connecting you with potential collaborators, mentors, broadening your networks. We do have an international reach as well. Your exhibition will be documented by a professional. We work with installers to put together the show. And we're very interested in public programs around the exhibitions that we have. And the idea of the public programs is to make what are often very rigorous conceptual ideas accessible to a broad audience. And just a reminder of the date. So applications close on the 31st of October at midnight. All the proposals will be assessed by our artist committee, made up of practicing artists based all over Australia. And the successful applicant will be notified in late November for an exhibition, which we delivered sometime in 2025. Now we have an image from Grace Culley's solo presentation, which was commissioned. And I might pass over to you, Grace, just to say a few things about, your experience, what you got out of the opportunity and what it was like working with West Space.
Sorry, of course. Sorry, I think my internet was also dipping in and out earlier. So my experience with West Space, I think maybe with the changeover of management, I had maybe a bit longer to work on mine than might typically be the length. But I mean, sort of regardless, I think the length of it, was it how it is now or when I was, it's so generous, and I think that generous amount of time plus the support, but also maybe and what worked for me maybe in contrast to sort of really sinking my teeth into a project, say in a tertiary setting, is I found that with this, it's sort of getting to have that time and support of resources, like the grant application assistance, and like a lot of help, because as you mentioned, Seb, I also didn't have any experience in grant application writing, and it's sort of quite a specific style of writing, and also having the help of an institution to understand also what areas you can ask for support in that you didn't know you needed, that I didn't realize that could do with support with funding, or like also as an example, like funding to also to get like mentorships as well, and with all of that and the amount of time, I think it was really great sort of knowing I had support, and I know I sort of missed probably hitting up Seb once a week or once every fortnight to like chat, or like for a studio visit, and it was really amazing having that support to bounce ideas and guidance, but also being able to be really autonomous at the same time. And I think it sort of came at a really, really great time for me, where I'd had a show with certain projects, and then was with some of the topics that I'd looked at for that, was really, really hungry to look at this topic of dopamine and related behaviors that I had a look at, and getting to really go really deep on that and find out parts of my practice that I didn't know were there, and also having support and resources to be really ambitious, and to maybe sometimes realize what were far limits of pushing myself, that to take sort of forward how like learning for other experiences, like okay, like had support with time management, but also learning more about time management and how to sustainably exhibit for myself and in my practice, moving forward as well. And it was also really fantastic, a lot of the people that I met, whether it's people through Seb, or sort of getting for the grant application, getting letters of support for that, and then getting put in touch with some industry peers who now I've sort of got that. I think with any art relationships become a half friend, half professional relationship, is being able to have an ongoing dialogue with a lot of people, and then the sort of, well, it's just the world opens up. It opened up a lot for me. It was if you think of applying, absolutely life-changing experience for me. It was really it's going to be just also getting to be like, for me, my age, like I'm 24, I've been out of undergrad at the VCA for, when did I finish, 2020, and having the opportunity to be really ambitious and to push certain avenues, and also in my practice also methods of production and certain materials, and having the time to also go through processes as well to refine ideas and processes, and just I can't stress enough how important and invigorating like having the time, and that support as well, but support that's not it's very, very conducive to being creative. I think having support with autonomy as well. Was there anything
that was
particularly
great,
you want me to
Grace?
speak to?
No, that was really cool. I also mentioned that you were able to make a publication.
Oh,
That you have.
That was something I never expected. Something that was brought up as an idea to me, I think, in some of my first chats and meetings with Andy Butler, who was a previous artistic director before it swapped over, or before they swapped over with Joanna. And things like that it just hadn't occurred to me as an outcome of it. And for me, I love physical things, and as you probably tell by my processes, I'm a very physical hands person. And getting to have that as a sort of archive, like, and an ongoing aspect of it. And also, and maybe I will also just touch on with the support of West Space, I managed to get the Creators Fund grant from Creative Victoria, which, for anyone who doesn't know, I think it's our state arts government body. They were really lovely to work with as well. With that funding for research and development, that allowed me to sort of go through that studio-based material development, which suited my practice, but also facilitated me then being able to do a collaboration or / sort of commissioning of a work for a sound artist, and friend of mine, Spencer Noonan. So it introduced me to also new types of making, like collaboration. And I also did this conversation-based research for my show. And and with the grant funding, I was able to do, my sort of like do it properly, like offering people like a consult fee or payment, and like sort of, I guess, doing things ethically, like getting that sort of like teaching and learning from West Space, and like great, but also like necessary due diligence that I was really excited to do as part of that grant application, like cultural awareness training, trauma-informed cultural awareness training to prepare and go into doing this conversation-based research about certain topics responsibly. But yeah, so sort of from those things, I just found it also really great that I feel way more equipped now in my sort of understanding and also how to go about certain things to, I guess, like be an artist or to make art ethically and responsibly as well. Like I think that's a really important professional skill that, and also like interpersonal and professional skill that I also really gained, that it makes me sort of feel more confident, way more confident sort of going forward, being like, I either understand how to do certain things, or maybe I understand, how to go about researching and the bodies to go to get, just to do it, because I think it's, making art to show, like, I think it's a really great thing that West Space values and advocates for is, sort of ethical presentation and practice within art. And also everyone was just lovely to work with. Yeah, so I'll try not to waffle more, but yeah.
No, thanks for that, Grace. Because that's so true. While it is a really big professional development opportunity, and a really good opportunity for any artist's career, it also is about making a practice meaningful, making a practice sustainable, making it something that can something that you can do for a long period of time. So yeah, thank you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Hopefully. Oh, have I frozen?
No, you're good.
Oh, true. All right. Well, we might open up to some questions now. Feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself, or you can put questions in the chat. The floor is yours.
Hi everyone, thanks for holding this session. I'm Tiana, I'm based in Mooloolaba, also known as Newcastle. I just had two little questions. Supporting images for work that's not made, what would you expect to see there?
That's a really good question around support material. I guess because the development period is relatively so long, we're not necessarily looking for, support material that tells us that work already exists. We are really looking to develop that with you. So don't feel like you have to, have material that, shows that the work already exists. I just said that. But what we are looking for is just with the support material, some kind of assurance that you will be able to deliver the work, or you have been engaged in that kind of research for a long enough period of time to for that all to culminate in a ambitious exhibition.
So like it can
yeah,
be private work that is like tangential or like related or shows like a similar level of outcome or something like that.
absolutely. And you know, if you are looking to work in a way that's quite experimental to how you've done in the past, like maybe you want to include, you know, an image of a test that you've done, or some plans. Yeah, and on that note, we do have a plan of the gallery space, but we thought it best not to provide that, just because we don't want to predetermine what people envision for themselves. So, you know, the project's in 2025. So don't feel like you have to propose a project that is already finished, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess that takes to my second quick question, which was for this commission, I was actually hoping to continue developing something that I've already been commissioned for next year. That's a duo show, but I was sort of hoping to take it further because there's not heaps of lead time. I really got 6 months for this one, and I was hoping to take it further with that extra time in this outcome. So and maybe keeping it a little bit open as to what my collaborator is overseas at the moment. I don't think there's time to bring them into this application. But yeah, maybe it's leaving that little bit open of like, maybe they want to put a little work in, maybe they don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just wanted to, that was like a issue for you guys.
Yeah, to my mind, it's not an issue. Like, most artists have lots of different projects on the go that are underpinned by, you know, a singular research. I think it's just about communicating the fact that it will be like original work. But yeah, I'll also put my email address in the chat, and because it is a bit of a case-by-case basis. If you're feeling unsure about the details around your plans, you can get in touch with me, hopefully with a little bit of time before the applications close, and I can actually advise on that kind of thing.
So the fact that parts of it will have exhibited before is not ideal. Like, is it all supposed to be like completely new work, or?
Again, like it's a case-by-case basis, but yeah, because it is a commission, in an ideal world, the work won't have been shown anywhere before. Maybe, you know, like one element of the exhibition, that's cool if it's been shown somewhere before. Does that make sense? Just because it is a commission, it is a relatively long development period.
Maybe, yeah, I think if you're okay, I think I have a little something to add to what you're saying, Seb, from my experience of it and how I don't know if things have maybe slightly changed a bit, but from what I understand, or what I understood of what the commission was available for when I applied, is it was and then how I experienced it was development, and having like it's sort of a long commission because it's for developing. So obviously I can't speak on West Space's behalf, but I guess maybe what I'm thinking maybe said with what you're saying about having previous works or planning things is just sort of maybe just having a think for your application about how this will be really important to have that time to kind of to develop and go into maybe avenues that you don't know are there. Or I know, yeah, does that sound sort of relevant, Seb?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe thinking on how it can, because the time element, I think that's
Yeah, are you feeling good about that, Tian?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, that clears that up. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks.
cool. We've got a question in the chat. I'm just going to read it out for everyone's benefit. It said, Given the decent incubation time, how specific should proposals be regarding the works that would be made in this time? Yeah, I guess what I would be looking for is to, yeah, I don't necessarily need to know that exactly what the work will be, but I'm really interested in the research that you're engaged in and how, you know, historically that has manifested in the work that you do. And yeah, just to have a sense of what you're thinking about for the project. You don't have to say, I'll do 3 paintings and a video work. You can say, yeah, my research is going to take this form. It doesn't have to be super specific. Does that feel good, Mariota?
Yeah, Mariota said yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
cool.
good. Thank you.
Cool.
Next up, we have a question. Do you like me to read it out? Alicia?
Yeah.
So we have a question from Alicia. In the info for our applications, Westspace says we are seeking to redress historical imbalances and will prioritise applications from certain marginalised groups. What does this mean to Westspace? So what does prioritise mean? What does redress mean in terms of the application selection process? And does this still function within an institutional and academic accepted means, or are you willing to be more radical than this?
Okay, I'm going to start by just because I'm getting echo. I'm going to start by answering the first part, and then I'll get into the other parts. Yeah, my first answer is just that we're really aware of the context that Westspace is operating in, that being a settler colonial context. Australia was colonized relatively recently, and yeah, we're really hoping to engage in that. By prioritize, it means that we're not approaching applications from historically marginalized groups with a kind of scarcity mindset. So we're looking to understand why someone doesn't have, really high quality support material, why someone doesn't have like a long exhibition history, that kind of thing. We're not looking favorably upon some applications over others. We're just really hoping to, approach this application process with those histories and contexts in mind. And then the last part of that question, does this all function within institutional and academic accepted means, or are you willing to be more radical? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Westspace does exist in this kind of tension between, having that more radical history of an artist-run initiative, but also we do very much function in a pragmatic sense today as a small institution. Having said that, institutions are all about the people involved, and we're a really small team. And in my opinion, we are relatively radical. We are actively looking to change the way that we work depending on who we work with. So, if you happen to be an artist who works in a really radical way, we'll do our best to support you within, the limitations of budget and that kind of thing. So I hope that answers your question.
There was a little follow-up as well.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. And if yes, being open to more radical approaches, what does this currently look like to you? What limits do you see? Yeah. For me, it looks like literally changing the way that we work based on the needs of the person that we're working with, person or collective. some limits I see, time constraints, budget constraints. I only work 3 days a week, for example. Funding's a really big issue. So more practical things rather than like things that are couched in ideology. Are there any other questions? We've got some pre-prepared questions as well to keep things going along.
So I might start with this one. If I apply as a solo artist, can I propose contributions from people in my community if that's relevant to my project?
Yeah, the answer is yes. So if you end up working with West Space, you can really determine the shape of the show, what community means to you and how you and your community want to engage with us, I think is my answer to that question. There's another one from Jesse in the chat here. It says, how developed would the research side of the application need to be? Yeah, and that comes to that question about kind of demonstrating in your application that now is the right moment for you. So the research doesn't necessarily have to be really developed, but it does have to be at a point where you're ready to spend a lot of time and energy thinking about how it will translate to an ambitious project. So I guess it's more qualitative than quantitative. Like, you don't need to say, I've had 3 exhibitions where I've engaged with this research. We're also really interested in thinking holistically about people's applications. Like, it's not just like a CV-based thing. Creativity exists differently to different people, and like, you might have been undertaking research for a really long time, but just not in a formal way. There's a lot of people who have been engaged in, really important work outside of an institutional setting, and just because it hasn't happened in those formats doesn't mean that it's any less valid or important to an artistic project.
So would you say, like, maybe even, again, just from my personal experience of it, like, maybe even another way of, like, maybe rather than necessarily saying research, but having, like, being able to maybe express the things that, if they're in this format, maybe the things you have questions about that you really want to explore, and maybe just being able to discuss, like, the context of, so maybe why that's relevant now. So maybe, like, whether you might call that formal research or otherwise, through XYZ reasons that have become apparent to you that's important, in your practice, and maybe whether it's in your community or to sort of our contemporary Australian context, like, why that's it's sort of quite, like, important and timely or something. Maybe if your mind doesn't quite work in terms of research, maybe just like having an understanding of that and being able to chat. Would you maybe say that?
Yeah, I totally agree. A lot of it is just contextualizing, like, what you're doing in Australia today, in Melbourne or wherever you're based. I totally agree. Also, just being able to say, like, what art making means to you. Like, why do you think this is a really good moment for you to be having this discussion? And why is art the medium that you want to use to have the discussion that you want to? We have another question. In terms of collaborating with other organizations or people working out of the arts, would they need to have been approached before the application, or is it okay to have it as an intention at this point? I think it's totally okay just to have it as an intention. You don't need to have any confirmation, letters of support or letters of confirmation. You can just say, you know, if I was successful, ideally, I'd love for Westspace to partner with this organization, or I'd love to work with these people for my project. So yeah, don't feel like you have to have confirmed anything. Oh, there's another message here. Oh, it just says thanks.
Should I ask another question? All right, another one I prepared earlier. Oh, we've got another one in the chat. How important is site responsiveness to the commission?
Yeah. How important is site responsiveness? Yeah, again, it goes to that thing we were just talking about. About just contextualizing your work. Whether it's in Melbourne or not, the context is Australia and its histories. And in my mind, engaging with those histories is enough. We have had projects that have been very site-specific. For example, Joel Spring and Victoria Fam, their project actually looked at what kinds of flora were growing on the site pre-invasion. So you can get really specific. Collingwood Yards, for example, is a very contested civic space. It kind of embodies the gentrification that's happening all over Melbourne, and that is very much a contextual framework that some of the exhibitions have worked within. So yeah, I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but it definitely can't hurt your application to situate the thinking that you're doing in Westspace and its context. The history of Westspace as well, or the history of artist-run initiatives, is also a contextual frame as well. But more than anything, I think it's just about being able to contextualize what you're thinking. So another question, is it possible to give a rough idea of how you could structure the written component of the application? Yeah, I can do that. So I think it's broken down it's 500 words. It's broken down into kind of two parts. The first part is kind of giving an introduction to who you are and what your practice is. And I would say the second part is kind of about giving a sense of what you want to achieve with the opportunity in the first instance. And the rest of the word count you might want to use to talk about like what it means. So yeah, you've introduced yourself, you've talked about what you want to achieve, and then the last thing is what it means. So that's things like maybe why am I the best person to be having this discussion? Like, why does this project that I have in mind need to be at Westspace? And another thing is like, why now? One thing I also like to think about when I'm reading applications is, I've already mentioned it, but like why art making or the context of an art gallery or an arts ecology is like an effective means for this project or this conversation to occur. And with everything I said, that's like for any project, like any project can be communicated in those terms. It's very much open, but I think just being very specific in how you are able to contextualize the meaning of the opportunity, both to yourself, but then to the audience that you want to engage with. Okay. How long or how many images do you expect the support material to be? I would say try and keep it concise. last year we had about 160 applications. So yeah, I would say between 10 and 15 images, no more than 15 images. If you have video content, maybe try and not have it more than 20 minutes, I would say. I think it's about choosing the work that you're most proud of, and that connects to what you're talking about in your application. Okay, we have a question about the windows, and I'm going to answer it now because we don't have any other questions. Are there any structural limits you could provide for us, like the floor, glass, power, or site? Yeah, there is power in the west space window. It has external speakers. Oh, did you?
Oh, was that for the space or for the windows? The west space
Oh,
window.
sorry. Are we talking about the west space window, or are we talking about the windows in the big gallery? I'm gonna assume it's about the west face window, but yeah, it has access to power. You can hang in there off the door, you can hang off the ceiling. It does have a glass front that you're able to do things on as long as it's temporary. Yeah, there's external speakers as well if your work has a sound element. But yeah, if you've got any specific questions about the window space, feel free to email me. I'm going to move on to the next question from June and Samara. Regarding applications from collectives, would you expect documentation of their past collaborative outcomes, or would you accept applications from new collectives with only past individual works provided as support material? Yeah, I mean, if you're a newly formed collective and you don't have any exhibition history as a collective, then yeah, putting in your support material examples of work that you've all made as individuals and giving a sense of how it would all work together in a bigger project, I would say is the way to go. Oh, sorry, I just lost the question. Would you accept applications from new? Yeah, I mean, definitely accept applications from new collectives with only past work provided as support material. Yeah, and it's just a matter of giving a sense of how those individuals will come together in a group project. So I can see that Ash has his hand up. Ash, I'm gonna pass over to you.
Oh, hi, Seb. I just wanted to ask a question in terms, again, of support material and just thinking about gaps in different types of art making. And I guess looking at the sort of practice I'm doing now and how that linked to something that I was doing, you know, sort of 10 years ago. And so in the support material, is it best to show those links rather than, let's say, 15 images, most recent work, where only 5 of those might be the kind of work I'm actually interested in making?
Yeah, so if I understand the question correctly, yeah, don't be afraid to show images of work that you've made a really long time ago. If it feels relevant to what you're thinking about now, I reckon go for it. Yeah,
That's what I was asking. Thank you. Yeah.
cool. We've got about 10 more minutes if there are any other questions.
Shall I ask him?
Yeah, if there aren't any other questions, Leila has prepared some crackers. So maybe I'll yeah, let you ask one.
What tips do you have, Seb, for balancing ambition and ability or readiness when writing the application?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because yeah, we are quite explicit in saying that we want to support ambitious projects. So yeah, we really support ambition, but it's about giving a sense that you will like that ambition is within your like means, or you have the experience up to date that will allow you to deliver on that ambition. Having said that, yeah, you know, I reckon just be as ambitious as you think is necessary. Because if you are accepted, you'll have a conversation with the West-based team, and we'll talk about how that ambition can be realized. I would just stray away from being like really specific in your ambition. Like, I wouldn't say, oh, I want to have a show at West-based that then travels to the Tate in London. Like, I think that, you know, you can be ambitious in a way that's open and not predetermined the direction that the project goes in, if that makes sense. Like, because the project's so long away in relative terms, yeah, we are really open for it to be something that's quite ambitious and that slowly gets refined over time. Yeah, and I say that, and I think it's a West-based thing, but just it's on us to kind of help you manage those expectations, because yeah, sometimes the budget's not massive. Sometimes the collaboration that you had in mind doesn't work out. But that's what's really exciting about, you know, writing applications, is that you can kind of dream big and be ambitious. So I wouldn't be afraid of yeah, being ambitious. Maybe another one.
Yeah.
Is this good for everyone? Few people nodding, few people that I can see. Yeah. All right, yeah, I reckon another one.
Can I request an extended time frame to complete my application in line with my access needs as a deaf or disabled artist?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's a case by case thing, but if you are anticipating that you'll need some extra time, do get in touch. Preferably, yeah, because we usually get a big rush just before the deadline closes. The earlier that we know about what your requirements are, the better we can organize our time. But the answer is, yeah, if you really need something and you yeah, if you really need some help, get in touch and we'll see what we can do. We tried to make the application process as accessible as possible. Some of the feedback that we've gotten is that it's just like really open, and some people would like more parameters about how they can submit applications and that kind of thing. If that applies to you, do get in touch. Yeah, I'll put my email in this chat at the very last moment so that you've all got it. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then we might wrap up. Oh, we've got one. Any tips on keeping the application concise in terms of what you would want to be reading, what is absolutely necessary? The biggest thing for me is just like using really simple language that anyone could understand. Like, I've been to university and sometimes I find it hard to follow some of the applications that we receive. Like, don't feel like you need to be quoting a French theorist or yeah, doing anything really complicated. What I really like to see more than anything is just a sense of, yeah, what art making means to you, like why you even make art, which often is like, yeah, requires really simple language. So that's my biggest tip. I don't know, you might want to structure your response into paragraphs so that each paragraph yeah, answers a different part of the question. But yeah, those are my tips.
That's it. One little tip I also have for that, sorry, is when you're doing your application, is like reading it to like a family member or friend who isn't involved in art, and like seeing if they can understand what you're chatting about or what you're thinking. I find that's personally a good little sort of filter opinion system for applications.
Thanks for that, Grace. All right, well, yeah, if there are no more questions, I think, yeah, we'll wrap up. But for everyone who's still here, like, you have our contacts, and yeah, do feel like you can be in touch. I hope you all enjoy the application process. But yeah, we might end here. Thanks everyone for joining, and all the best. See you at West Base. Bye.